God imagined humans being very much like himself. He imagined free creative beings capable of loving intelligently and thinking lovingly, that they could transform themselves and others of their kind in their innermost being. Welcome to the HealthQuest podcast, your guide to God's will for your health. My name is Dr. Sal, and I've been practicing as a surgeon and as a physician for well over 30 years. And my goal for each episode is that you'll be able to have your mind transformed to God's design for your health. The objective is to affect the way you eat and the way you live. If you're new here, we release a new episode every week, and if you enjoy the content, would you leave us a review? It really helps our ratings, and more so, it'll help us to reach more people, and in turn, we can help more people. So thank you for your support. Let's dive right in on today's Health Quest. Why do so many endeavors end up in failure? One of the major approaches in our ways to fix things as humans is we inevitably place a Band-Aid on issues, and this is the approach towards problem solving, the quick fix. We don't engage our hearts and minds to problem solving, and in our case, we're discussing our health. Our hearts and minds become God's portals for miracles to occur. How do we begin to understand what this means? For us to understand how this works, we have to go back to the beginning. Once upon a time, there was no time. Time is nothing more than a measure of changing positions of objects in space. For example, a year is a measure of the movement of the Earth around the sun. Again, in the beginning, there were no objects in space. So something must have happened before there was anything. Something quite different from the laws of physics. Is it safe to say, or does it make sense, that the first happening was a mental event, then a physical event? The idea of mental events generating physical effects may seem counterintuitive, but we experience this all the time. For example, anxious thoughts can result in stomach ulcers. Can this example tell us something about God and the universe? For this mysterious transition from matter to no matter to occur, an impulse had to come from somewhere. The most brilliant individuals have understood this idea, including the most brilliant scientists. They envisioned an impulse squeezing out of another dimension into this one. They've conceived this other dimension as the mind of God. The only reason that God's mind might be like ours is if ours was made to be like His. That is, if God made us in His image. In the scientific universe, matter came before mind. In the mind before matter universe, the connection between mind and matter is much more intimate. It is a living, dynamic connection. Everything in this universe is alive and conscious, responding sensitively and intelligently to our deepest, subtlest thoughts and needs. Matter emerged from the mind of God. But it was created in order to provide conditions in which the human mind would be possible. So, why do we fail in our endeavors? Because we fail at the level of the mind. The question to ask, how important are we to God? The human mind is still the focus of God. Matter is moved by human minds in the same kind of way that is moved by the mind of God. Luke 17, verse 5 through 6, and Matthew chapter 7, verse 20 to 22. Faith the size of a mustard seed, and you can move mountains. We've seen these messages being sent over the decades and over the millennia, even in our most recent movies, such as The Matrix and Star Wars, where Morpheus tells Neo that you have to believe. In Star Wars, when Yoda tells Luke Skywalker to move the spaceship out of the swamp and onto the shoreline after he was claiming that he knew how to operate the Force and wasn't able to do so. When Yoda did it, he said, "I can't believe it." And Yoda said to him, "That's why you fail." Nothing happens anywhere in the cosmos except in the interaction with the human mind. For example, just because you didn't hear the tree falling in a forest in Montana doesn't mean it didn't happen. Matthew chapter 5, verse 21. Your thoughts of lust, as Jesus said, if you're looking at a woman and you're looking upon her as lust or in a lustful way, already you committed adultery. Ralph Waldo Emerson, great men are they who see that spiritual is stronger than any material force, that thoughts rule the world. God imagined humans being very much like himself. He imagined free creative beings capable of loving intelligently and thinking lovingly, that they could transform themselves and others of their kind in their innermost being, that they could expand their minds to embrace the totality of the cosmos and can discern the secrets of its subtlest workings. Humans are God's reflections. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. God created man in his own image. In the image many have seen or watched in movies where a so-called superhero has magical powers and can move things just with his thoughts. The key to altering matter requires a change in thinking. To do this warrants consciousness and awareness. And we'll discuss this in future podcasts. But always keep in mind that we are the individualized expression of God in the physical form. It is one place in the universe where you know you can realize God. Your body is the house of God. It's a temple. And in this body, while it is here on earth or on this planet, you could realize God's presence. By understanding this truth, you now begin to understand how we become as Jesus. We become the Christ, or as in Greek, the word Christos means the one true self, or the anointed one. You have to get back to your one true self to be like Christ. With that, we go back to the Garden of Eden. Although we're never to return to the Garden of Eden, I always say that we really never left. The reason I say that is because we make choices every day. And in the words of M.J. Ryan, who's an author, he said, "The choice is ours in every moment." Now, here's where I'm going to challenge a lot of you Christians out there. Salvation is not a one-time deal only, but on a moment-to-moment basis. Because you could say you have Christ in your life, but the minute you let go, you allow for the forces of evil to come back in. So our takeaways for today are, number one, we were made in God's image. We are the individualized expression of God on earth. With that, our thoughts can affect the molecules and the atoms within our cells. So our minds can move matter in the same way that God can move matter with his mind. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us on our show today. If you get a chance, please give us a good review so that we can go ahead and spread the good word. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.